Targaryen who sits the Iron Throne is not just a king or a queen. They are a protector of the realm.
Yeah, what'd you think about that mud wrestling competition? I would have preferred G. Wayne and Kristen Cole, but...
Yeah, they almost got into it a little bit, but, good mud wrestle. I think that's just like, dude, like, that's just, get the whole group together, wrestle in some mud, I get it.
Dude, I haven't been mud wrestling since 89. The great Midwest mud wrestling.
Who could forget that? The great mud wrestle of 89.
I still got mud in my ears, mud in my socks. That's why they call me Muddy Socks.
Yeah, I always wondered why they call you Muddy Socks.
Oh, there you go, a little lore. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Reuben, formerly known as Beau Oliver, also formerly known as Muddy Socks. Joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to talk about House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 8, The Queen Who Ever Was. Oh, little play on... See, at first I read it as The Queen Who Never Was, and I thought, really? They named the episode after the ship? I guess tribute to Rhaenys, but I'm a little dyslexic here. Aaron, what about you? Are you dyslexic? Actually, you know what? Let me plug the other stuff. Of course, if you're not listening to this on YouTube, you can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. If you don't want to listen to it on YouTube, and follow us across social medias at Nerd Soup, at Beau Soup, at Nerd Soup Monkey, and go ahead and pledge to our Patreon page if you want some extra podcasts. We just uploaded some new ones. We're talking about The Bear Season 3. People have been pestering us about our thoughts on The Bear, and also The Boys. So there you go. Stop yelling at me. Yeah, Aaron, what was my question for you? Oh, dyslexia. You're not dyslexic, right?
I don't think so. Who knows, though? I feel like I'm, good at reading, but I've been better,
You've been better?
Yeah.
You've gotten worse?
I think so. I can read. I'm not saying that I can't read, but I feel like when I was in my prime, it's like in school when you're always reading, practice makes perfect.
Oh, I never read. I was cool.
Yeah, you were cool.
Muddy Socks? He never has a book on him.
Old Muddy Socks. Not a book in sight.
Get that out of my sight.
The last guy I tried to give him a book. Mud wrestled him to death.
Yeah, no, I'm still paying that family compensation. That's why we're doing all these Patreon pods. Please pledge.
Your lawyer got you on manslaughter, so it could have been worse.
Yeah. Shout out to Teddy. All right, let's get into this season finale for Season 2. I'm going to let you start, Aaron, because I've got a lot to say. Not a lot to say, but I don't want to make the people too unhappy, depending on where they fell. So, but it's honorable. You want to, like John Umber, you want to lead the vanguard. Your mate is very tough.
If you know anything about me, I do not want to be in the vanguard.
Why? Maybe you get a little courage.
No.
Go out like a warrior.
Absolutely not.
Well, you're starting this review. Season 8, right. Queen Who Ever Was. I mean, Episode 8. Not Season 8, jeez.
Is my sound coming in?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Because it wasn't showing the purple thing.
It's coming in very clear.
Okay, I was just making sure.
It's like you're right here.
Queen Who Ever Was.
Inside my head.
I think the instant reaction was from a lot of people I saw online. They were very disappointed in the finale, and I think the IMDb is the lowest or second lowest of the season so far, or of the series. So I think
of the series,
yeah.
Wow.
I think a lot of people, maybe us included too, were expecting a lot more from this finale. I don't know. It's hard to gauge because I think on its own it's a good episode, but for some people, and are you sure it's coming in?
Yeah, it doesn't seem that there's any problems.
Because I understand why people are disappointed as, a season finale. We're so used to it being something more than your just standard episode. And I think on its own, it is a pretty good episode, but versus what maybe some expectations were to what we got. And it just feels like another setup for the war that we kind of thought we were getting this season. I think my problems with the season in general, it does feel like we haven't really made any huge steps when it comes to where we were at the end of season 1 to where we are now. Obviously, we have things like with the penultimate episode with the new Dragon Riders, and some moves definitely have been made, but it just seems like we're slowly dipping our toe into this grand war. And I don't need a big battle and war sequences for me to be interested in the show. I just want the politicking to be a little bit more interesting. It just hasn't seemed like the writing has been as consistent throughout the series so far. As we've talked about it a lot of times with Game of Thrones, a lot of the dialogue heavy episodes move the story in tremendous ways, where it always felt like we were moving forward. And it seems we are slowly getting there. And I know George came out and said that the story needed 10 episodes, 4 seasons to fully tell the story. I'm on the complete opposite end. I think this could have been 3 seasons. I think a lot of frustrations for a lot of fans has been because it seems like the story is being stretched very thin.
Right. It feels like they're in this weird place where they're hesitant to add anything to a pre-written story because they don't want to upset fans. And when you get into that territory, you can end up going down a road. It's the butterfly effect. You change one thing and you have to change a million things.
But they have changed a lot of things, and they've also added things in between the lines.
Nothing substantial.
Well, I think when you
Nothing
look at
substantial to justify the length that they're telling this story at now, because that was going to be my second point, is that they also have to accommodate HBO and what they want. They want to make this a series, multiple seasons.
Yeah, HBO would want this to go for 7 seasons. They already have all the, I think it's now 7 spinoffs lined up. So,
but I think they did themselves in a little bit with season 1, where if you ask a lot of fans, they'll say, "Hey, I could have taken a couple more episodes of Jace and the gang growing up."
Well, yeah, it's weird how they decided to structure it out throughout 4 seasons because, yes, I think you're right. There is a way to make it 4 seasons and keep the quality and consistency going, but where they chose to add stuff in maybe wasn't the best place to do it. Going to changes too. I don't know how you felt about the whole the Alicent and Rhaenyra thing. It's just, I feel like we keep going back to this point. I did like Rhaenyra. She stood a little, I think this episode is kind of what we talked about with Rhaenyra, not being uninteresting, but kind of wanting to mend some of the perceptions that you might have after reading the books from. At times, she can be a bit more brutal than what she's shown on screen. But I think this episode, they actually delved into it a little bit more with her plans to attack with the dragons and kind of getting the opposition on her little council there where they didn't want to kill innocents. And it seems like she's willing to kind of take that step now. And even when Alicent comes and she says a son for a son, even though, I mean, they kind of already got revenge in that sense. And then now she wants another son. Well, I guess it was your grandson, so we're not going to count that one. We want more blood.
Yeah, and I thought that the scene at the end when it's sort of the montage of what's going to lead us into season 3, the shot of Rhaenyra inside with all the scrolls, all the history, and then the next shot wide open, you're seeing the horizon, this idea that she's finally free of the responsibilities and duties, whereas Rhaenyra is just getting started. And it came true. The fans were speculating whether or not Alicent would betray the Greens. This is not something that does happen in the written material. When she walked into that room, I burst out laughing, not because it was funny, but I just couldn't believe that they were doing this again. And I thought that scene was a lot of Alicent telling us things that we already knew about her character, her regrets, the way that she's been essentially lost in the chaos of her duties and being queen and raising these children and now fighting this civil war, and it's become too much for her and she wants to be free of it. And even with Rhaenyra sort of being, Rhaenyra's reaction was almost like reacting to the writing of the scene. She's like, yeah, duh, we all know that. You're an asshole. But then she's like, history's going to remember you as an asshole, after Alicent was just done saying like, man, I've been an asshole. So I thought that scene was just obvious, and they've done that a few times where its characters are supposed to be these big emotional moments where it's either them experiencing a hallucination, really just Daemon, and coming to a new conclusion about themselves, or heart to heart, but not necessarily something that the audience needed or that the audience wasn't already privy to.
No, it's a retread, and I think they established everything they needed to do with the first meeting. Maybe Alicent is still hesitant to fully get to the point, say what she said in this scene, but the writing's on the wall, the writing's on her face and her reactions and everything that she's done after that. So we really don't need to hammer the same point home over and over again. yeah, both sides, things kind of got out of control. They don't want to really kill people, but they're in a position where they have to. And they want to find easy ways and ways to solve this without going into a full-fledged war. But that's just not the situation and how the world works. Like, I think we knew this at the end of season 1.
It's talking down to the audience a little bit. Like, if we show them these atrocities, they're going to think it's good to do that. That it's okay to just slaughter innocents.
And it's a separation of characters where I think Daemon and Cole, honestly, I mean, shout out to Cole for all the shit talk he's gotten from us and the whole internet. I think he's been very strong this season.
Oh, that was my favorite scene of the episode.
But those are the two characters where I think they've done the best at muddling the waters a little bit. Where Alicent and Rhaenyra, they constantly have to tell the audience that, like, it's not their fault and they don't really want this to happen, and it's just everyone around them is manipulating, or the situation causes them to do these things where they need to, yes, we understand that it's not Alicent's fault. You know, a lot of this was out of her control and she does feel regret. And the same thing with Rhaenyra. We don't need to be constantly reminded that if it was up to them, they would be hanging out in the Godswood still and being friends and everybody holding hands and being okay.
Right. And I've voiced my dislike of them referencing the Prince Who Was Promised and the original Game of Thrones series. But I don't hate the idea of Rhaenyra becoming obsessed with prophecy and that she wants to enact that prophecy by any means necessary, that she's willing to kill. And at first it's, yeah, they keep doing this thing of she knows it's wrong, but she really has no choice. She's a good person. But maybe she'll get to a point where she's totally blinded to the atrocities that not only is she committing, but the people on her team and the things that she's forcing them to do, because she becomes so obsessed with this idea of not just taking the throne, but saving Westeros. And I thought that montage I liked it.
I did too. Made me hype for next week, but that's next week's in 2 years.
And they do kind of confirm that the throughout Raven that we saw in Game of Thrones was a Targaryen. That is Brendan Rivers, even though he doesn't have the scar. But you have to imagine that the TV universes do take place in the same continuity. So maybe they'll pull a George Lucas and give him the scar in post.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw Daenerys, so I guess that confirms that, you know, these are the same universe, but also cosmetics in 300 years in the future or 250 years in the future are much better now. So he was able to get some product to cover that up. Yeah, even though he's by himself, secluded in the north, he still wants to look good just for himself, not for any of the, Leaf, like, you know, he doesn't want to look like shit in front of Leaf.
Right, Leaf kind of cute.
But, and I mean, the birthmark is sick. I would keep it. I mean, that's fucking badass.
Yeah, that actually shocked me that we straight up saw the young Brendan Rivers, because he's one of my favorite characters in all the series. And I do have to apologize. Last episode, I said that Rhaenyra was Jaehaerys' granddaughter. Dude, I was in the middle of working out and it came to me just instantly that I fucked it up. But I was like, God damn it. Gonna get 100 comments on that last review. Well, it's good for engagement, so I apologize.
Well, I wonder if that's going to be the same. They're going to use that same actor for Duncan Egg.
Yeah, maybe. Right, giving us a little preview. He seems to be an unknown.
I would think that'd be like a cool little tie-in, but
that would be a cool tie-in. But yeah, they'll
universe before.
Yeah, they're going to get Glenn Powell.
We had book accurate, almost like Dario Naharis in this episode.
Oh yeah, the dude with the blue hair. I was like, oh, so you could do it in this show, you couldn't do it in the original? Whatever. CGI monkey. I
do like the idea of, like how you said, Rhaenyra, you know, kind of seeing the Rhaenyra that we've wanted to see, and it's tough, like, because there's still 2 more seasons left, plenty more time for development, and to see who she ultimately ends up being. It's just constant reminders, you know, without those, and keep playing it like it is. And like, if you said, if she does kind of get corrupted by prophecy or kind of lose herself in the war, and see that play out naturally over the course of a full 4-season arc, then yeah, of course, then I wouldn't have any complaints about that. But I just think, and Ryan Condal, I think he said something along the lines of, like, you know, obviously it's a history telling, like the novelization of it from the histories from Maester. So if these meetings happen, obviously they wouldn't know about it. I think that's just kind of an easy way to justify thrusting those 2 meetings into the series.
You can't keep using that.
I don't think they're necessarily bad scenes. They just, I don't know. It's just, like you said, we learned, doesn't really teach us anything. There's nothing that we really couldn't have put together in our own heads.
Right, and that's kind of what it feels like Daemon's character went through in this season, where he starts at the end of season 1, especially when it came to Rhaenyra's coronation. You had no hint of treachery. Okay, now that the war has started, you're off on your own. You've garrisoned this army. You have all these men under your command. This could be your shot. So that hint of treachery creeps back in, and maybe you want to become king. But he ends the season once again taking a knee and reaffirming his support for Rhaenyra after he sees this prophecy. So I don't know. The idea that Daemon wants to support Rhaenyra not because he believes in her and because he loves her and because he can clearly see she's the one who inspires all these houses. She's the one who inspires the small folk. She is the realm's delight. Sorry, Aegon. That's why he would support her, not because he saw this prophecy and he understands I'm just a small piece on this large chessboard and I need to do my duty, which I guess it kind of works, but
you're humbling him a little bit. Like, you're not as big as you think you are. There's other things that play here that you don't understand or don't necessarily even be a part of. But
took a long time for him to get there. I feel like she could have showed him that prophecy night one. I guess you got to butter him up, warm him up with the mom porn.
Yeah, and you never know with these prophecies, even with Bran, just how much information, like, does the 10 seconds we see from that feel like decades for him, where you do come out a completely different person?
Right.
Obviously, Bran came out I fucking hate Bran.
And he was teetering. Yeah. So
now every time I think of Dr. Manhattan Bran, it just makes me upset.
You're a good man.
Future king. You don't need to be in season 5. But Daemon,
fucking Sir Arthur, what a slime ball.
Simon Strong.
Yeah, no, Simon Strong is a real one. I love that little cheer he did after they all supported Rhaenyra. He's like, oh, goody, everything worked out.
Huzzah.
Yeah. He was happy.
But I did like that scene, having everybody bend the knee to Rhaenyra again. But that was kind of a moment where after seeing everything, Daemon, and like it come to a conclusion that's satisfactory. I enjoyed that moment.
Right. I think it's another case. Like, I love the visual storytelling with Rhaenyra and Alicent, and I felt like even without that scene, you could have made that point just through those two visuals of where those characters are currently. And the thing with Daemon is that I don't really necessarily hate where he ends off, although, like I said, it does feel like he ended off in the same place at the end of season 1, but it was getting there. If they did a better job of convincing me that he ever really was going to portray Rhaenyra, maybe that moment's more satisfying, where they're talking in High Valyrian. That's always been the love language between them. It's not only to hide what they're saying, but it's because they spoke in that language with each other when it's a serious matter, or when they're on the same page. So I don't mind that scene, but it's getting there. It's the path there that was very shaky in both instances for those three characters, Daemon, Rhaenyra, and Alicent.
Well, what did you think of the vision itself?
Well, the way it was done, I mean, Daenerys, the shot of Daenerys was awesome, where, you don't see any of the Dothraki, you don't see Jorah, but that's kind of how a prophecy would go down, right? Everything's cleared out just so you can get the main picture of why that's so important. And, the Brendan Rivers, love that guy, so that was cool. Him seeing the dead dragon, stepping through all the bodies. I thought that was going to be Jon Snow.
I think it could be.
Yeah, it could be, right? Because then it transitions to him drowning in the water. So
I've seen some wild takes from people, or like misinterpreting. I saw someone being like, "Oh, I confirm. I like that they changed Helaena to be the three-eyed raven." It's like, did you not see?
Oh, yeah, I saw that too. What the hell?
People proclaiming Daenerys the prince, like, it's confirmed now. Daenerys is the prince that was promised. Like, it's still Jon. Like, it's very clearly Jon.
Right. Well, Daenerys is just the fucking goat. So once again, 3 dragons, holy shit. But the Helaena edition in the prophecy, I like that because of the scene that she also has with Aemon, because she tells Daemon what it is, and he fully accepts it. And Aemon is like, I can have you killed. And she checks him. She says, that wouldn't change a thing. So just to contrast those two characters, because they've done that a few times this season. With Daemon, he doesn't know if he wants to be this villainous character, and Aemon is fully embracing that role. So I enjoyed it for that aspect. And like I said, Helaena is obviously a green seer. That's the only type of character that can really put a psychopath in their place, where you're not going to intimidate her, you're not going to scare her, because she's seen it all. And honestly, she's a better version of what they were trying to do with Bran. There's a coldness, there's a strangeness to her, but she's still Helaena. She's still the girl who liked bugs. She fears for her life when she was out being harassed by the mob. She is introspective. When Alicent asks her, would you like to leave this place? She's like, where the fuck would I even go? So she feels more put together than a character like Bran was near the end, with that same sort of ability.
No,
so that
yeah,
was the aspect of the prophecy I enjoyed the most. And I really enjoyed Helena's character in this episode.
Game of Thrones characters getting checked by prophecy or witchcraft always makes me fucking laugh. Remember when Melisandre checked Varys? That was the first time we've ever seen him scared. He's like, what the fuck? Even Melisandre was fucking shaking people left and right. But yeah, Aemond obviously took out his frustrations or just had a little episode. That's one way to react to your sister getting the upper hand on you.
He's like, you know what? Let me just kill a bunch of people for no strategic reason.
Yeah, it's the most we've ever seen this character as unhinged as he is. He's always had, it was a calm, confident, unhinged, but like this episode, he's fully losing it here. And even when Larys goes to talk to Aegon, basically, like, you're king, but there's nothing stopping him from trying to kill you, and you can't do anything because we need Vhagar.
Well, also, I don't know if the show is shying away from the atrocities, but it does feel that way, because I defended them when they did it with the Blackwood Bracken battle. They also did it with the Blackwoods running up on the Bracken village and kidnapping all their women and children and committing those atrocities. And now they did it again. I feel like those scenes would go a long way into showing us just how horrific war is. And they're not really doing that. I don't want to battle every episode, but 15, 30 seconds of Vhagar and Aemon decimating this city, because it still feels like we're detached from Aemon's psychopathic tendencies, because we just really haven't seen it other than when he burned Aegon. But yeah, no, Aegon wanting to be called the Realm's Delight, so fucking funny, dude. And also the way that Larys was telling him, like, we need to go, we need to leave. And Aegon, every response was just, I'm disgusting. My cock exploded.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
My Xbox got the ring of death. Just every bad thing happening to him.
My dragon's dead.
My dragon.
Oh, my dragon's dead. My penis is burnt off.
Oh, poor little Aegon.
Cry me a river.
But even him calling Aemon a mad cunt, I found it to be funny. I mean, he's got to be the MVP of this season.
My brother wants to kill me.
I saw some people making points that Larys, the reason he was stressing Aegon's recovery is that it was him trying to remake Aegon in his image. But now they're on the run. So I guess that will continue, but the recovery did happen rather quickly. And that's where I'm saying where I could have enjoyed a couple of more episodes of Aegon doing PT and Larys manipulating him in a way that feels so Game of Thrones, where you don't need any superpowers, you don't need any witchcraft or magic. You're just that smart, and you can get your tentacles inside of this man's head and turn him into your Frankenstein's monster, turn him into your king puppet. It does look like that's where they're headed, because he does heed his advice and they leave at the end. But that was, to me, one of the stronger scenes of the episode.
Yeah, and like what I said before about maybe they should have done less seasons. I think you can, like, if you want to...
I kind of agree with that too.
But it's all about how you allocate your time, right? With a strong writing and a strong vision, you can make it 5 seasons if it's done the right way. But, I think there definitely has been some missteps along the way. And they said that season 3 is going to be all out war. So we'll see how they handle that. Hopefully it's not too heavy on that, because I think you still need time to maneuver away from all that and kind of have proper setup and things of that nature. But
yeah, we're going to get that. It looks like we're going to get that battle in episode 1, the Battle of the Gullet.
The battle of my gullet every time. It's like me at a buffet working overtime. Put that shit in the 5th gear.
Yeah. So they're headed for conflict. Corlys just can't get out of that fucking shipping yard. Hilarious to me. They gave him, I think, 2 scenes at the shipping yard this episode. And that was another thing I found weird. The scene with Rhaenyra and Corlys and the scene with Rhaenyra and Mysaria are like the same exact scene where they're discussing the same things. Corlys gives her the push, and then with Mysaria, it's more so, oh no, what are we going to do with the innocents? But I just found that to be really, really funny how repetitive those 2 scenes ended up being. And then Corlys with his son, there wasn't just enough between them for that scene to pack the emotional punch that it wants. I was proud for Alan to stick up his nose at this motherfucker. You know, all your that was crazy. He was like, all your kids are dead, and now all of a sudden you care about us. But like I said, there just hasn't been enough between those two characters for that scene to land as heavy as they wanted it to.
No, I actually like that scene. I think it was
good, definitely a good scene.
And I think Alan, like you said.
But the setting, I just can't get over this fucking setting. This man, Alan, is always at the shipping yard with his hands behind his back.
He works hard, man. He's got to make sure everything's going well on the docks.
Can't put these guys in put them in a brothel. What happened to the brothels? There used to be a lot of brothels in Westeros.
4 years ago, brothel on every corner. Now, no brothels.
Oh,
Where'd all
when
the
Viserys
go?
was king? Yeah. Every block. 7-Eleven and a brothel. Still got the 7-Elevens.
No, yeah, I feel like 7-Elevens are recession-proof. Well, I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, letting Alan kind of get all that off his chest and really brings some insight into Corlys. I mean, you can obviously, in the conversations they had and the vibe around them, you could definitely see something was strained in their relationship. And Corlys kind of, having basically his whole family taken away from him, trying to reconnect with his bastards.
That is crazy,
a little,
bro.
Yeah. Just kind of the ignorance of the rich and powerful. We kind of saw that play out through this whole episode and a large part of the season, especially when it comes to a character like Mysaria. But even when Rhaenyra sits down with the dragon seeds, just the difference in their lives and how they view things and their view on the world. And I think that's one of the things that I think what attested to was when Rhaenyra was talking about going to Lannisport and to Old Town, especially him knowing how the peasants and the city folk who are always used as cannon fodder when it comes to the wars of the Highborn.
Right. Yeah. And in Alan's case, it's being used. He's being used by a Highborn lord who happens to be his father because of his father's guilt and grief. And with Alan, he's never really asked him for anything. So I think that's why it's especially annoying, because he's telling him to, fix your posture, fix your demeanor, crack some jokes. He's like, motherfucker, I didn't ask for this job. You used to walk by us with the beautiful furs and you would get snacks and treats, and me and my brother were starving. So that's an interesting dynamic I wish they would have done more with, where you have the one brother who's a bit colder towards the father he never knew, and Adam who's eager to prove his worth. But I really did enjoy that scene with Rhaenyra and the bastards, because Ulf was just so annoying.
I was picturing them just sweating their balls off on the docks, working a hard day, and Corlys walking by with a large Slurpee.
Oh, brain freeze. Oh, Lena, did you get brain freeze? I love you, son.
That fucking loud Slurpee noise at the bottom, trying to get the last little bit, handing it to a random person on the street. You take this. I'm done. Is there recycling anywhere? Nah.
Yeah, hands it to Alan. Hey, kid, you look smart. Find a place to dispose of this. Yeah, no, I've always said one of my mantras is civility is overrated. But then I saw the way Ulf was acting, and I was like, you know what? Clean yourself up in front of the fucking queen, buddy. Especially because Rhaenyra is being so gracious, and she's so queenly, and she's so hot.
Well, Jace is a bit of elitist, and that motherfucker was definitely pouting.
That was funny when Ulf was like commenting on his hair. He's like, who's to say we're not Targaryens, huh? He's like, if this dark-haired motherfucker's a Targaryen, we are too. Jace was like, well, let me at him. No, Jace was like, I'm not pouting. He's been pouting the entire season. That's like his default face. It's pout.
Well, yeah, but he was like, you can't put your feet up on the table like that.
But he didn't even turn it off when Rhaenyra was in the room. That's crazy. Just be respectful.
But it is in a way where it's like, you can call their bluff all you want because you have a very powerful tool. Well,
Jace was, I think he did side-eye her a couple of times, but it would have been funny if he hit her with a, what did I tell you? You're the one who wanted to give the bastards these power. But that was an interesting dynamic between the three of them there, where Ulf was very relaxed and disrespectful. Adam was very ready to serve. And Hugh Hammer was sort of in the middle, where he's unsure of where this is going to lead them. Because when she said we fly out in 2 days, Hugh Hammer was like, damn, that's a quick turnaround. Better start practicing my commands. And then she brings Adam out on the mission. So yeah, those three, there was some tension there during that dinner sequence. And it gives you a bit more insight into who those characters are, their personalities. Like Rhaenyra was saying, she wanted to learn more about them. And a simple dinner can reveal a lot.
Should have took him to an Applebee's. I feel like that's more Ulf's speed.
And that's the thing. At the end of that night, they all would have been drunk and in tears. Like they're all best buddies.
No, I could drive. Silverwing, hop on Silverwing. I got this.
Jason's like, you're a bastard. I'm a bastard too. I
love you, man. Crash Silverwing into the Tower of the Hand. How did we end up in Dorne?
That man straight up wanted to do a 1v1 with Vhagar. He's known that dragon for like a day, and he's already knows her so well. He's like, oh, Silverwing's a goer. I would have just sent him. I would have been like, all right, go ahead and prove it.
They seem to not really grasp the situation. I think Alan, like you said, he's always wanted this. So he seems like somebody who would be just down for anything. Whereas Ulf, I don't think grasps the severity of the situation or what it means to actually be a dragon rider and all what it entails, especially come wartime. I think Hugh, like I said before, is somebody who knows the struggle and would be hesitant to kill indiscriminately, unlike some other dragon riders and characters that have grew up in a place of war and almost used to it at this point. It's an interesting roster. You need team chemistry. I mean, it took the Heat a while to really start playing that first year, so they're kind of rushing into things.
Dude, they started the season 10-9.
Yeah.
May have been 9-10. Yeah, we got the breakdown of the rosters there during the scene with Rhaenyra and Corlys, where he says you have 6 dragons now. The 3 that she just added, herself, Jace, and Baela. I guess they weren't counting Daemon, so now it's 7. And if Rhaena is going to bond with Sheepstealer, that would be 8. But she did sort of downplay Helena's dragon, Dreamfire, which is pretty formidable. So that's interesting. I was frustrated because it felt like a tease with Rhaena and Sheepstealer because I love the look of Sheepstealer. And I know from the written material they say that it's an ugly dragon, and they haven't named it Sheepstealer yet, but I'm just going to give you guys the name. It's Sheepstealer. He steals sheep, or she does. I'm not sure. I thought that could have been a cool way to calm people down who are a little antsy for some action. Give us another great bonding scene, especially because that dragon was so scary looking. Loved it. The wings, the way that they were shaped. It's an evil looking dragon. To bond with such a seemingly sweet girl, I think that could have been fun for the audience to see. You know what they're going to do in season 3? She's just going to show up to one of the meetings on the back of the dragon, and we're never going to see that. We've got 7 dragons. Make it 8.
Huzzah.
Yeah, another huzzah. But I thought those scenes where they kept going to Rhaena, they were just felt so out of place. Just give it to us all in one sequence, especially if you're going to give us the tease of the 2 of them meeting and then doing nothing with it.
Well, I feel like that fell out of place, and also everything with Tyrod Lannister.
You mean Taiwan
Yeah.
Lannister, which implies that there's a People's Republic of China Lannister.
Yeah, no.
Love to meet him. Yeah, that stuff was, I like the CGI monkey.
Yeah, no, that was cool.
Literally, like I'm an idiot. My first thought was, ooh, monkey.
I thought it was like you know how... No. I didn't think the episode started yet.
Oh, like it was a new show? Like, ooh, new HBO show with the monkey?
Or like, I know it's not because they've never done this before and there's no reason for them to do it now, but like, before movies, like the little monkey comes up and it's like Monkey Productions.
Oh, right. They ran out of money for this last episode. They needed to bring in another studio.
Big monkey.
Big monkey.
But yeah, someone said that character, I forget, what was her name?
Lohar?
Yeah, it was ripped straight from season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, dude. I said before we started recording, it reminded me so much of Theon fighting on the beach when he's fighting the other Greyjoy. They're trying to tell him, like, hey, why should we follow you? And Theon's like, go ahead, kick me in the balls. See what happens. Nothing. Looks like I'm the leader now. That whole everything about it. And until the very last line, I thought that was hilarious when she asks him to fuck his wives and he goes, how many wives do you have? I thought that was funny, but everything else was just very silly, very, very juvenile and out of place. If you're going to do this where he needs to prove that he's a man, put him in a life or death situation.
But he didn't. Like, you can't like prove, like, he was just muddy. And you're like, I like this guy. He was losing.
Yeah, it didn't really make a lot of sense. I guess they were trying to do the characters quirky and unhinged, and you can't really read her.
I was trying to think of other Lannisters in that situation. I feel like Tyrion would have got a kick out of Tyrion.
Tyrion would have got himself out of that mud wrestling without a doubt. He would have been straight to the wives.
I like the negotiation. That was, I'm a sucker for what's the appropriate value in Westerosi trade offers.
No, it kind of felt like real life when it comes to shipping routes. When they were talking about the stepstones being disputed, and they're so valuable because you have to make that passage. It just reminded me of real life. Have you ever seen the Dune history books when they talk about World War II? And they're like, House Washington usurped House Windsor after the Raw Mentat Einstein developed the nuclear bomb, and they took over the Indo-Pacific shipping routes from House Nippon. And I'm like, yo, that's kind of how you can really look at it. It's just all about land and shipping routes. And that's what they were doing, nice little shipping route conversation.
I don't know if he's authorized to make that type of deal, though. But
I mean, at this point, who's really in fucking charge,
That's true.
Like, you come back and you tell Aemon, I didn't want to give up the stepstones because, they're so valuable. Aemon's going to kill you. And then if you say you gave up the stepstones, Aemon's probably going to kill you. So you just don't even bring it up. You'd be like, yep, no, the Triarchy, they just wanted me to have sex with their wives. Couldn't believe it. And then you get a promotion. There was no way to make that just better. I don't have any suggestions, but if you're going to spend time on that, it doesn't even seem necessary.
Yeah, and like the post-game recap, they said like they wanted to use that scene to kind of offer up some levity into the heaviness of everything else going on.
I don't need no fucking levity. This is war. It hasn't even been that serious yet. They're like, oh, no battles. Nobody really is going to die, but we need to lighten things up. What the hell? This isn't the time for partying, but it is what it is. Just a weird aspect of this episode.
Yeah, we'll see when he comes home. I mean, things are a little different in King's Landing now, I would assume. Well, we saw Aegon left town. Helena's being thrusted into... Well, she denied Aemon's suggestion that she hops on Dreamfire. I thought those scenes were actually really good.
Oh, yeah. No, they were excellent. Yeah, and I've really felt bad for Alicent. That was a great moment where the character didn't have to say anything, where Helena goes, I was much happier before I was queen. And then you see Alicent's face, and you know that she's thinking, yeah, me too, kid. But she didn't need to say it in that moment because that's something we already knew. And even Aemon challenging them and saying, it's not so much about preserving the throne anymore, it's about our lives. And the back and forth over what they believe to be each other's flaws and mistakes that they've made. So yeah, those scenes were really good. But it does, as I said, it doesn't feel like... Maybe it's enough for the characters, but I don't know if it's enough for the audience to believe Alicent would betray them. Maybe that's just me, or maybe that's just a flaw of the season as a whole, where it doesn't feel like they've earned that ending for that character. Maybe it's because she's a character where they've really had to expand her role because she does sort of fall out of the game once the war starts in the written material. So it's definitely something that's difficult and it's challenging, but I found it to be a bit sloppy in its execution.
Yeah, was the plan just basically keep the gates open at King's Landing.
Right, and her even saying like, that was funny. Aegon will bend the knee, and Rhaenyra's like, bro, you know what has to happen. I got to chop that man's head off. Not just one clean chop, a bunch of chops, a blunted sword. It's going to be gross. People are going to be scarred for life. And I'm going to make you watch. I'm going to make sure somebody's holding your eyelids open so you see every second of it. It just has to happen like that, little Allie. And Alicent's like, yeah, you're right. Come run away with me. And Rhaenyra's like, no. She did Alicent like she did Kristen Cole, dude. She straight up was like, what are you, fucking nuts? I got you dead to rights. I'm going to run away?
Yeah, and speaking of Kristen, small scene, but I think it was a great one.
Oh, that's the best scene of the episode, dude.
Yeah.
It was so funny how fucking dark he was getting.
Yeah.
Like the way he said, it's almost like we're walking to our annihilation.
Did he like just find out, like, what sparked that? Him putting the sword to him. Did he like just find out that he fucked his sister?
Maybe him smelling the handkerchief with the A on it.
I mean, that's just what people do at war.
Yeah, I guess maybe he just had an inkling. He had a hunch, and he decided to call him out on it. And Kristen was like, "You got me." Like, what are you going to kill me in the middle of fucking war? That was a little ridiculous. So I kind of enjoyed the way Kristen Cole told him to settle down and then hit him with all that dark ass fucking depressing shit. And then G Wayne had nothing to say. He just took a nice little seat on the log. Like, damn, bro. That's deep.
Like, damn, that sucks, bro.
Damn, now I'm depressed too, man. You have to get all serious on me. Shit. I wasn't going to kill you, bro.
Yeah, I was just trying to like scare you a little bit, man. I'm sorry.
It's a prank. No, but he's a great actor, Fabian Frankel.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it definitely is. I think certain characters, right, are, if you take like a Joffrey or a Ramsay, they're good in a different way where like they're so evil and so easy to root for that it just brings a interesting dynamic to the show. But these characters where, you know, you might not like them or they annoy you or they come off a certain way, the more time you spend with them and see them in different situations and kind of reflect on their journey and where they are now, even though I don't think anyone's huge Kristen Cole fans anymore or after this episode, it just adds a different layer to the character that I think is what this show needs more of sometimes, is added depth and layers. And you just view him in a different light now where you kind of feel bad for him in a way.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's peeling back into where he is mentally now and how this war has changed him, where he's no longer thinking about his personal ambitions and appeasing those that are in power, but he's seeing the full picture of things, and he probably feels as small as he's ever felt in his entire life. And he's another character similar to Alicent and Rhaenyra. He's always tried to do things a certain way, and that has led him to this point of emptiness. The only thing he's really living for is this love for a woman who clearly doesn't love him. So yeah, like you said, his character has been very unlikable for a long time at this point, but he leaves us in such a sad and pathetic state that you can't help but feel bad for him. I truly felt like this man, I would hug him if he said that to me. I'm sorry, Kristen. I'm sorry I've been so mean to you.
Yeah.
And you kind of look like the guy that I host podcasts with. So it's like, no, I get it all the time.
I think, well, what do we see? Otto, he was arrested? Was he he was in a cage?
I guess
kind of like,
I don't know.
How did that happen? Or was he just like was he in part of the caravan?
I'm not sure. I like the idea of him totally unrelated to anything that's been happening. He just got arrested.
He looks like his face is like he just woke up from like a 6-hour nap.
Yeah.
It's like dark out now. Like he lay down when the sun was out and woke up when it was dark. Oh, what the fuck happened?
I wonder if Larys has something to do with that. Or Aemon embarrassed him and said, go fetch me Otto Hightower. He's like, oh, you want me to fetch Otto? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll bring you Otto. Tip-top shape, too.
I just don't know what... Because Aegon obviously fired him. Then Aemon wanted him back. So I don't think he was like put in jail.
No, they said he was just going back to Old Town. But then they mentioned in one of the episodes that he hadn't been seen. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's a cliffhanger, right?
He's at the Applebee's with Ulf.
I think that's a little disappointing too about this season, is that Rhys Ifans was on the sidelines for the most of it. And we were anticipating that we saw Darren's dragon in the montage at the end, but we still haven't met Darren. We still haven't been to Old Town. And I was anticipating that we would see those characters in that setting, especially for a guy who was one of the best parts of season 1 to essentially be absent for the majority of this season. I think that's disappointing.
No, that's tough. And obviously you add in Viserys too for other reasons, mainly being that he's dead.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of tough when you're dead.
They need to do the multiverse.
Viserys, we need you to stop. They need you to distract Vhagar. Yeah, but 2 key players in season 1, 2 great characters, 2 great actors, you know, it's kind of hard to fill that void. I feel like there's only so much Rhaenyra and Alicent can carry, well, especially with Daemon's whole arc where he was absent from the main Black Council for most of the season. You kind of really noticed their presence. And I think one of the strongest scenes of the season, and it just speaks again to Aegon being one of the better characters this season, was between Aegon and Otto. And that is the last we saw of him all the way back in episode, what was it? 4? No, before that.
No, yeah, before
that. Episode 2.
It's episode...
episode 2, yeah.
Yeah, where he gets dismissed, yeah. Yeah, so he's essentially only in 3 episodes out of 8. Yeah, I have no idea. because it says on Wikipedia he's in a cell, so he's not being transported.
Yeah, maybe he just went off the deep end after he lost his job.
And it's also a change with, well, I mean, we're going to have to see what happens with Alicent in season 3, because it looks like they have her going down a path that is much different from the book, just based on the betrayal and now also her movements. It's a bit of a cliffhanger, but these cliffhangers are, well, I guess it's kind of obvious with Otto, but it's also just comes out of nowhere. I feel like for the average fan, they're just like, oh, it's that guy, but he's in a cell? Is he okay?
Yeah.
And, like I said, with the wild dragon, damn, shows a cool bonding, man. That's one of the best parts of the show so far, is the relationship between the people and the dragons and them bonding.
Do we know why it's going to be a 2-year wait again? Shows need to stop doing this. Insane.
But now they're doing the in-betweens, so it's similar to, I feel like there was another show that was doing this. Oh no, that was the plan for a long time with when Star Wars movies were doing main saga spin-off. That's kind of what
they did it with
like.
The Boys too. They did Gen V in between the last 2 seasons, and we'll get Dunk and Egg between these seasons. But it's definitely an interesting cliffhanger. I mean, you have the Starks coming down from the north. You got everything going on with the Triarchy coming, and then having all the River Lords pledged for Rhaenyra. I feel like we've said this 20 times now, but like, it finally seems like we're ready to do something.
I'm not saying that. I'm not going to, because I spent the last 2 years telling people, man, season 2. Now I'm just going to be like, yeah, season 3, it should be a season of television. It's going to be 6 episodes.
Imagine.
And then season 4 will just be a miniseries.
I hope people like Dunk and Egg.
Yeah, I hope it's good. I think that's one that's hard to mess up. And it's also actual fleshed out story. It's not lore. It's not this maester was unclear and there's 3-4 different accounts. It's a story. Beginning to end, it's a fucking novel. So, and the way they're doing it makes sense. Miniseries, not extending it. That's the way to do that.
Well, I wonder what doors it's going to open up to. I wonder if they're using it as a way to introduce some other things, or if they're going to just keep it as its own little nice story.
Yeah, there's definitely a part of me that doesn't want Game of Thrones to go down that route that it seems to be already going down, where it becomes like Marvel or Star Wars, where this part of the universe and that story and this character and this prequel, it seems like...
I think the Daenerys and White Walker thing was like the most like franchisey moments.
Yeah.
I mean, the prophecy, obviously, but you can almost that kind of feels natural. But these ones were like the first time we've had the, look, they did it. That's Daenerys.
Yeah, it's the Leo meme pointing at the screen.
Yeah.
And we even said, you asked in the first review, do you think that we're going to get White Walkers in the show? And I was like, yeah, and I'm going to hate it, but I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. Or I didn't really hate it at all.
I think Damon got just basically watched the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he did. He was like, man, what an incredible start to the prophecy. The last couple of moments weren't so great, but didn't see that coming with Arya.
He's probably a big Stannis guy.
Oh yeah, he loves Stannis. He asked Alice Rivers, he's like, what happened to young Griff? And they cut that out? Ran out of the werewood trees ran out of sap? Is that what happened?
Oh, so we're not doing Blackfires? Okay, I thought we were doing Blackfires.
No, that's fine. I mean, it just kind of dulls Varys' character there at the end, but whatever.
Yeah, why'd they make the kid who was going to be king? Why did I just not see him for all that time? I feel like it would have been pretty important to see what he was up to.
Well, any last thoughts on the season finale before we wrap this up? I'm sure we're going to talk about the whole season.
He's definitely a big Blackwater was better than Battle of the Bastards and Hardhome.
Well, he would be correct on that.
Yeah.
Well, not Hardhome. Hardhome's still number 1 for me, but Blackwater's just a fucking masterpiece. But like I said, we'll probably be back to talk about the season as a whole, take some fan questions, get the fans involved, and see how you guys are feeling. I'm sure the comment section should be fun for those who read it. I do not. Aaron, any last thoughts?
No, not in particular. I don't like the last thoughts thing because it's like, I've just been talking for an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Well, I guess overall for the season, uneven for me. And I'm not going to get too excited because I try not to get, I don't want to be mean. I'm being honest, and maybe sometimes it could come off as harsh. But like I said, I'm just trying to be honest. I'm not making it personal. This hasn't destroyed my life, or I don't hate Ryan Condal. I'm a little frustrated with George, though. I don't know what his role in all this is, because he's another one. He complains about shit. You're a co-creator, bro. You can't be complaining about a show that you co-created. But other than that, yeah, uneven season for me.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I don't know. Just trying to figure out what do we do for 2 years.
Well, maybe we go on like a little self-discovery journey.
Ayahuasca.
Do the ayahuasca first, kill our egos, and then we'll volunteer where they need us.
Like for the army?
No, I was thinking like,
Okay.
I don't know, like a
so
soup kitchen.
You have fun with that. Oh, yeah, I could do. Yeah, I'll do that. My barber actually went to the army and left me high and dry. I thought he was joking. He doesn't seem like the army type. It's like, yeah, just like letting you know I'm going away soon. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what for. And he's like, yeah, start boot camp. I'm like, okay. All right. Good luck.
All right, guys, that does it for our season 2 House of the Dragon episode 8 season finale, The Queen Whoever Was review. We will be back. So I hope you will be back. I hope you like, share, and subscribe. And also tell your friends.
Oh, man.
What?
The way you said that, it's like, I hope you like Cher. Like, yeah, she's good. She made a few songs. A little random, but yeah, I mean, Cher's cool.
Go see her at her Vegas residency. She has a Vegas residency, I'm pretty sure. We love Cher, don't we, folks? Aaron, thank you for joining me this season. Teddy, thank you for not watching.
I love Cher.
Ted's been like the Ben Simmons of these reviews. All right, guys, we'll be back very soon. Be on the lookout.